Commander Jake Morrison stared at the glowing star chart in front of him. Something wasn't right. The map showed thousands of star systems, trade routes, and explored regions across the galaxy. But at the edge of human space, it just stopped. There were no stars marked beyond it, no trading paths, no colony worlds. Nothing. He leaned closer to the display, squinting at the blank area. Every other species in the Galactic Council had their territories clearly marked. The lizard-like Dragnari stretched across 12 sectors. The flying jellyfish people called the Ventar controlled the northern spiral arm. Even the tiny rock-eating gremlins had more space shown on the map than this empty void. Jake called up another star chart. Same thing. He pulled up the official Galactic Council navigation database. Again, the maps ended right at the human borders. It was like someone had taken a giant eraser and wiped out everything beyond Earth's sphere of influence. That doesn't make sense, he muttered to himself. His assistant Lisa Carter walked into the navigation room carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. She noticed him frowning at the display. "What's wrong, Commander?" she asked, handing him a cup. "Look at this," Jake said, gesturing to the star chart. "See how the map just ends at human space? There should be more stars there. I know there are. I've seen the actual stars through telescopes." Lisa sipped her coffee. "Maybe the Council just hasn't explored that area yet? For over 100 years? Come on, Lisa. The Galactic Council has been exploring space for over 10,000 years. They've mapped almost the entire galaxy. How could they miss such a huge chunk of space right next to a member species?" She shrugged. "Ask Director Williams. She might know something about it." Jake spent the rest of his shift thinking about the strange gap in the star charts. He was Chief Navigation Officer for the Galactic Council Exploration Fleet. It was his job to know where everything was in the galaxy. This blank spot bothered him like a missing puzzle piece. That evening, he went to see Director Williams in her office. The director was a no-nonsense woman who had been running the exploration department for 20 years. Her office walls were covered with star charts and exploration medals. "Director Williams, I need to ask you about something." Jake started, sitting down across from her desk. "Go ahead, Morrison," she said without looking up from her paperwork. "The star charts. They all end at the edge of human space. There's this huge blank area that nobody talks about. Why is that?" Director Williams finally looked up. Her face remained calm, but Jake saw something flicker in her eyes. "Every species has their quirks, Commander. The humans joined the Council only 50 years ago. They're still adjusting to being part of a larger galactic community. But Director, I'm not talking about human quirks. I'm talking about missing star systems, empty space on our maps. It doesn't make scientific sense. The Council has its reasons for certain information gaps," she said carefully. "Sometimes it's better not to ask too many questions about things that don't directly affect your mission." Jake felt frustration building in his chest. "With all due respect, ma'am, understanding. Galactic geography is my mission. How can I navigate properly if our charts have blank spots?" Director Williams set down her pen and folded her hands on her desk. "Listen, Morrison, you're a good officer, smart, careful. That's why I'm telling you to leave this alone. Some areas of space are better left unexplored for now. Since when did the Galactic Council stop exploring? Since we learned that sometimes the unknown should stay unknown." Jake left the director's office more confused than before. He had served in the Galactic Council for 10 years. He had met dozens of different species. He had visited strange worlds and seen amazing things. But he had never encountered such obvious secrecy about something as simple as star charts. Over the next few weeks, he started paying more attention to how other species talked about humans. Most council members were friendly enough to Earth's representatives. They traded with them. They signed treaties with them. But whenever someone mentioned traveling through human space, conversations would change. The veteran explorer captain, Sam Rodriguez, who had been charting space lanes for 50 years, once mentioned in passing that he preferred routes that went around human territory. When Jake asked why, Sam just smiled and changed the subject. Even more strange were the few traders who did business with humans. They would return from Earth systems with expensive goods and good profits, but when Jake tried to get navigation information from them, They would be oddly vague. "Oh, the humans are interesting neighbors," one trader told him. "Very polite, very organized, but they have unusual philosophies about space travel." "What kind of philosophies?" Jake pressed. "They believe in being careful about what you wish to find," the trader said cryptically. "They say some doors once opened shouldn't be closed again." The pattern became clear to Jake. Everyone seemed to know something about the space beyond human territory, but nobody would say what it was. It was like they had all agreed to keep a secret but wouldn't tell him what the secret was. His friend Alex Chen worked in the sensor department. During their lunch break one day, Jake decided to ask him about it. "Alex, have you ever analyzed any sensor data from ships traveling through human space?" Alex paused with his fork halfway to his mouth. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious. I've noticed. Our navigation systems sometimes act weird near human borders. They start to lose accuracy." "That's normal," Alex said, not meeting his eyes. "Magnetic interference from local stars." "But the stars in that region aren't particularly magnetic," Jake pointed out. "Look, Jake." Alex leaned in and lowered his voice. "Some things about the Council's navigation practices aren't meant to be questioned. Trust me on this one. You know something. I know that asking too many questions about human space is a good way to get reassigned to desk duty on some backwater station." Jake realized his friend was scared. Alex Chen didn't scare easily. He had survived a black hole encounter and a plasma storm. Whatever this was about, it was serious enough to frighten experienced space travelers. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the blank spots on the star charts, about the nervous faces of traders who dealt with humans, about how even his own friends wouldn't talk openly about it. He made a decision. If the official channels wouldn't give him answers, he would find them another way. There had to be someone in the council who would tell him the truth, someone who had actually been to the edge of human space and seen what lay beyond. The next morning, he started asking careful questions. He listened to gossip in the station's cafeteria. He paid attention to which exploration teams never returned from certain missions. He learned that 3 standard months ago, a Xenari merchant ship had gone missing near human space. The official report said it was a navigation error, but the whispered stories said something else. The Cosmic Fortune crew were experienced traders, Jake overheard one dock worker saying. They'd been running that route for years. "Navigation error, my left antenna." "What do you think happened?" another worker asked. "I heard they got too close, saw something they shouldn't have seen. But the humans found them, right? Rescued them?" "That's what they say. But the crew isn't talking. All they do is stare at walls and mumble about forgetting what can't be forgotten." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Something was very wrong here. And for the first time, he began to wonder if maybe Director Williams was right. Maybe some questions shouldn't be asked, but it was too late for him to stop wondering now. As he walked back to his quarters that evening, Jake made a decision that would change everything. He was going to find out what was really happening at the edge of human space, even if it meant defying orders, even if it meant putting himself in danger. Some mysteries, he told himself, were worth solving. Even the scary ones. Especially the scary ones. He just had no idea how scary this particular mystery would turn out to be. 3 months passed since Jake started investigating the mystery. His research had taught him little except how to spot when someone was avoiding his questions. Then, on a Tuesday morning that would change everything, the station's emergency alarms began wailing. "All staff to battle stations," Director Williams' voice boomed through the speakers. "We have a distress signal from the Xenari merchant vessel Cosmic Fortune. Last known position was Sector 7A, edge of human space." Jake's heart raced. The same ship whose crew had gone missing months ago, the one people whispered about. He ran to the command center where organized chaos filled the room. "Morrison," Williams called out. "I need you on navigation for the rescue mission. Captain Rodriguez is taking out the Starlight Edge. We launch in 20 minutes. Jake quickly gathered his equipment and ran to the launch bay. Sam Rodriguez was already there, checking the ship's systems with his crew. The Starlight Edge was a fast response vessel, built for quick rescues and medical emergencies. "Good to have you aboard, Jake," Sam said, not sounding happy about it. Let's hope this is just a simple equipment failure. The Cosmic Fortune has a good crew, said Maya Johnson, the new security chief. They don't usually need help unless something's seriously wrong. Alex Chen joined them as navigator. His face was pale and he wouldn't look Jake in the eye. Jake suspected this wasn't his first time dealing with ships lost near human space. As they prepared for departure, Dr. Sarah Miller came aboard. She was the ship's medic, carrying several cases of medical supplies. I've been told to bring extra tranquilizers, she mentioned quietly. That's unusual for a standard rescue. Within minutes, the Starlight Edge shot away from the station, entering faster than light travel toward Sector 7A. The crew was quiet during the journey. Even Sam, usually full of space stories, kept his mouth shut. 4 hours later, Alex announced, they were approaching the last known coordinates of the Cosmic Fortune. Dropping out of FTL in 3, 2, 1, the stars shifted as they returned to normal space. Jake immediately checked his navigation systems. What he saw made his blood run cold. Captain, the star charts are wrong, he announced. According to our official maps, we should be in empty space, but my sensors show colonies, human settlements, and look at this, defensive platforms orbiting the nearby planet. Sam's face went white. Alex, confirm those readings. Alex worked frantically. At his console, confirmed, sir, multiple human colonies, advanced defensive installations, technology signatures I've never seen before. How is this possible? Maya asked. The council maps show nothing here. No human colonies were supposed to be in this sector. Maybe. The maps are outdated, Jake suggested, though he knew that wasn't true. The council's maps were updated daily. There, Sam pointed at the main screen. The Cosmic Fortune. She's intact but not responding to hails. The Xenari ship drifted between two asteroid belts. It looked undamaged, but something about it seemed wrong. The lights were on, the engines were running, but it just slowly rotated in space like an abandoned toy. Maya, prepare a boarding team, Sam ordered. Dr. Miller, get ready for potential survivors. Jake, keep scanning. I want to know everything about this sector that our maps didn't tell us. As Maya's team suited up for boarding, Jake continued scanning. The human settlements were massive, cities that could house millions, defense platforms with weapons that made Council military technology look like children's toys. And beyond, in the distance, what looked like construction sites for even bigger structures. Captain, Alex called out. I'm picking up a transmission. It's from human space, but it's encrypted. Our systems can't decode it. Let me guess, Jake said. They've known we're here the whole time. Probably, Sam admitted. Human sensor technology is impressive. Maya's team boarded the Cosmic Fortune. For 20 tense minutes, the Starlight Edge crew waited for updates. Finally, Maya's voice came through the comm system. Captain, you'd better see this yourself. The crew, they're alive, but they're in some kind of shock. We found their logs. You need to read the last entry. Sam and Jake suited up and boarded the abandoned ship. They found Maya in the captain's quarters holding a data pad. The Xenari crew sat on the floor, their multiple eyes vacant and staring. Read this. Maya handed them the data pad. Jake read Captain Reith Ka's final log entry. Aloud. Day 47 of trading mission. Humans detected us mapping their territory. They were polite but firm. They escorted us to the edge of their defensive perimeter and showed us what they protect. We saw what lies beyond human space. God help us all. We cannot unsee what we have seen. My crew is broken. We tried to delete our navigation data, but the memories remain. The humans offered to help us forget, but we declined. We thought we were explorers, brave enough to face any truth. We were wrong. We are returning to the Council to warn them, though I fear it won't matter. Nothing can prepare anyone for what waits out there. If the old ones follow us, may the gods of all species have mercy, and may humanity continue to hold the line because no one else could. Jake's hand shook. The old ones? What are the old ones? Sam was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, but I've heard that name whispered before, always in connection with human space. Captain, Alex's voice came through the comm. Human ships just dropped out of FTL, 3 of them. They're hailing us. They returned to the Starlight Edge. On the main screen appeared a human in military uniform. This is Captain Dan Wright. Of the human defense ship Independence, Captain Rodriguez, we need to talk. This is a restricted area, and your presence here was not authorized. Captain Wright, I'm conducting a humanitarian rescue mission. The Cosmic Fortune sent out a distress signal. We're aware. The signal was meant to draw council ships here. The Zenari crew insists on warning your people about what they've seen. We would have preferred to handle this quietly. What exactly did they see? Jake found himself asking. Captain Wright's expression was grave. Things that the Galactic Council is better off not knowing about. Commander, I recommend you return to your station and forget what you've discovered. Here. And if we don't? Sam challenged. Then you'll join the small group of council personnel who help us maintain this necessary deception. Either way, this conversation is happening in person. Prepare to be boarded for an official debriefing. The human ships moved closer, their designs unlike anything in the Council's database. They were sleek, powerful, and intimidating. As the human boarding team approached, Dr. Miller pulled Sam aside. Captain, these Zenari are traumatized beyond anything I've seen. Whatever they experienced, it's destroyed their concept of reality. If humans have medical officers on their boarding team, let them help. Our standard treatments aren't working. A human medical team came aboard with equipment Jake had never seen. They worked on the Zenari crew with methods that seemed more psychological than physical. To everyone's surprise, within an hour, the Zenari stopped staring into space. Captain Rithka stood up shakily. Thank you, human friends. Your methods are merciful. What did you see? Jake asked the Zenari captain directly. Rithka looked at him with all 6 eyes. I saw the end of organic life. The machines that harvest entire civilizations. The reason why humans don't explore beyond their borders isn't fear, it's protection. They protect us. Before Jake could ask more, human soldiers politely but firmly led the crew to a conference room. Captain Wright entered with another human, a woman in civilian clothes. I'm Dr. Emma Thompson, she introduced herself. I'm a liaison between the Council and Earth's Defense Force. What happens now depends on what you want to do with what you've learned today. Can you at least tell us what's going on? Sam asked. Emma nodded. 2 centuries ago, humans reached for the stars. We thought we'd find wonder and friendship. Instead, we found a galaxy already conquered by machines we call the Old Ones. They convert organic matter into computational power. Entire species became fuel for their calculations. But the Council has never mentioned these Old Ones, Maya pointed out. Because they don't know, Captain Wright explained. When Earth met the Council, we were already fighting this war. We made a choice. We could warn everyone and possibly lead the Old Ones to discover more targets, or we could quietly hold the line while letting the galaxy believe in peace. You've been protecting us? Alex asked, disbelief in his voice. Yes, and we need to keep it that way. So I'm offering you the same choice we give every council member who discovers our secret. Forget what you've learned here through our memory. Treatments, or join our small but growing force of council allies who help maintain this deception. Jake stared at the datapad in his hands, then at his crew. The mystery he'd been so eager to solve was bigger and more terrifying than he could have imagined. Humanity hadn't been secretive because they were hiding something from the Council. They were keeping one of the galaxy's greatest horrors at bay. In the background, through the viewport, he could see human defensive stations scanning deep space. Always watching. Always ready. The choice before him was clear, but terrible. Continue his life in blissful ignorance, or carry the weight of a truth that could break him like it had broken the Zenari crew. He looked at his team. Sam's face was troubled. Maya seemed determined. Alex looked relieved, as if finally having an answer to questions that had haunted him. Dr. Miller was already asking about their trauma treatment methods. The decision would have to wait a little longer. But Jake knew deep down that nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy wasn't what he thought it was. And humanity, far from being newcomers to space, were its secret guardians. The blank spots on the star chart suddenly made perfect sense. They weren't gaps in knowledge. They were shields protecting an unsuspecting galaxy from a truth too terrible to bear. And somewhere beyond human space, ancient machines waited. But humans stood watch at the edge of the darkness, keeping the monsters at bay. The conference room fell silent as everyone processed what they had just heard. Jake looked around at his crew members. Sam was rubbing his temples, trying to understand the enormity of what they'd learned. Maya sat perfectly still, her security, training keeping her composed even in shock. Alex looked almost relieved, as if pieces of a puzzle were finally clicking into place. "I need proof," Jake finally said. "I'm sorry, but it's too big. How do we know you're telling the truth?" Dr. Thompson nodded as if she'd expected this reaction. "I understand completely. Most people need to see it to believe it. Captain Wright, with your permission?" Captain Wright consulted his wrist device. "The defense grid is stable. We have a 30-minute window. Helm, set course for observation. Point Beta." The human ships and the Starlight Edge moved together through space. 20 minutes later, they arrived at what looked like a massive space station hidden in an asteroid field. It was cleverly disguised, its outer hull designed to look like a simple mining operation. "This is one of our observation posts," Emma explained as they docked. "Come with me." They followed her through corridors that reminded Jake of his grandfather's old stories about ancient Earth military bunkers. Everything was reinforced, practical, and ready for battle. They passed humans in various uniforms, military, scientific, medical, all working with focused efficiency. Emma led them to a room with a massive observation window and several screens. "Before I show you what we're watching, I need to warn you. What you're about to see has driven some people mad. The Xenari crew saw something similar, though they got much closer than anyone should." She activated the main screen. At first, Jake saw only stars. Then the image focused, zooming in on a distant galaxy cluster. What he saw next made his stomach drop. The stars were disappearing. Not going out naturally, but being systematically dismantled. Massive geometric shapes moved between star systems, breaking down planets, consuming suns. They were machines of impossible size and sophistication. "This is real-time observation from our most distant probes," Emma said softly. "The old ones operate by converting matter into computational power. They've been doing this for millions of years. When humans first reached beyond our solar system, we encountered evidence of them everywhere. Abandoned civilizations, warnings written in the orbital patterns of dead planets, ancient messages begging whoever finds them to run." "How? Are they not here yet?" Sam asked, his voice strained. "They are," Captain Wright answered. "They've been probing the edges of our galaxy for 200 years. We've been fighting them the entire time. Small skirmishes mostly, testing each other's capabilities. They don't know about the Galactic Council species, and we're trying very hard to keep it that way." Jake watched the screens in horror. The machines moved with terrible precision. They reduced complex solar systems to their basic components, stripped away atmosphere from worlds, dismantled moons, and harvested stars themselves. "How do you fight something like that?" Maya asked, her security training struggling to find any tactical advantage. "Carefully," Emma replied. "We've learned that they operate on a kind of logic we don't fully understand. They seek efficiency above all else. Converting widely spread species isn't worth their energy expenditure. But if they knew about the thousands of species gathered in council space..." She didn't need to finish the sentence. "This is why the Galactic Council thinks Earth just suddenly appeared," Alex said, putting pieces together. "You've been hiding your real development time, making it look like you're younger than you are." "Exactly," Emma confirmed. "When we joined the Council, we presented ourselves as a species that had just discovered faster than light travel. In reality, we'd been spacefaring for centuries, fighting this war quietly while pretending to be primitive." Dr. Miller spoke up for the first time. "The Xenari crew mentioned you offered them memory treatments. Can you erase what they saw?" "We can," Emma nodded. "But only if they consent. We don't force it. Everyone has the right to know the truth about the universe, no matter how terrible." For the Zenari, we offered the option because what they saw broke their minds. Memory treatment was a kindness, not a punishment. Captain Wright pulled up another screen. Here's what we're really doing. The display showed a massive construction project, a network of defensive stations, ships, and what looked like shields spanning several solar systems. We call it the Dark Wall, he explained. It's the last line of defense. If the old ones get past our forward defenses, this will hold them back. But it only works if they don't know it exists. If they discovered the Council species beyond us, they'd push harder, Jake finished. They'd see all that new organic matter as fuel for their machines. Now you understand, Emma said. We're not just protecting Earth, we're protecting the entire galactic civilization. That's why our star charts end at our borders. Why we get nervous when people ask too many questions. Why we can't let the Council know about any of this. Jake felt the weight of the truth pressing down on him. The universe wasn't what he thought it was. The peaceful galactic community he'd served for 10 years existed only because humans had secretly taken on the responsibility of keeping them safe from this cosmic horror. Your Director Williams knows about this, Captain Wright revealed. She's one of the few Council officials cleared for this information. She's been helping us maintain the deception for 20 years. That explained Williams's behavior when Jake had asked about the star charts. She wasn't avoiding the question because she was hiding something from him. She was protecting him from a truth that could shatter his worldview. What about other species? Maya asked. Surely some of them noticed. A few, Emma admitted. We have a small network of Council allies. The Vreentar actually helped us design our early defense platforms. They're excellent engineers. The Draknari High Command allows us to stage supply ships through their space. But they're the exception. Most species don't want to know. The observation window showed a change. A probe had detected movement in the distant machine structures. Alarms began chirping softly as the old ones adjusted their formation. They're testing again, one of the human technicians reported. Same pattern as last month. They're trying to map our defense grid. And they can't find it, Captain Wright smiled grimly. Because every time they look, we show them what they expect to see: random human expansion patterns, normal colonization, peaceful trade routes, nothing that would interest an efficiency-driven intelligence. Jake watched the dance between probe and countermeasure. The old ones would scan. The humans would feed them false data. The machines would move on, never realizing what lay beyond the human defensive zone. This must cost you tremendously, Sam said. Ships, resources, lives. It does, Emma agreed. But it's worth it. Every day the Council doesn't know about. The old ones is another day they continue to exist. Another day their children grow up safely. Another day their civilizations flourish. Nobody thanks you for this, Alex pointed out. The Council thinks you're just another member species. They probably complain about your defensive tax rates or your ship specifications or your mysterious navigation preferences. True, Captain. Wright chuckled without humor. We're often criticized for being paranoid, for maintaining such a large military, for being so careful about who we trade with. Little do they know it keeps them all alive. Dr. Miller stood up, walking closer to the observation window. You've seen terrible things, haven't you? Your medical treatments, the way you handled the Zenari crew. You've treated this kind of trauma before. Too many times, Emma sighed. Sometimes our own people see too much. The forward observers, the battle survivors. We care for them as best we can. But some truths can't be unseen. The room fell quiet again as they all contemplated their place in this larger cosmic battle. Jake felt his comfortable world crumbling. Everything he'd known about galactic politics, about human history, about the nature of the universe itself, it was built on a carefully maintained lie, a lie that protected billions of lives. We haven't asked the real question yet, Maya said, finally. What do you want from us? Emma looked at each of them in turn. We want what's best for everyone involved. If you choose to forget what you've learned today, you'll be returned to your ship with altered memories. You'll believe this was a simple rescue mission where nothing unusual happened. You'll continue your lives in the Council, serving, exploring, dreaming of a universe full of wonder. And if we choose to remember? Jake asked, though he thought he already knew the answer. Then you join us, Captain Wright said simply. You become part of this secret. You help maintain the deception that keeps the Council species safe. You carry the weight of knowing what's really out there, and you live with the knowledge that you're protecting the galaxy from its greatest threat. The choice hung in the air like a physical thing. Jake looked at his crew again. The Xenari captain had returned to his senses, watching them with his 6 eyes. He had chosen to remember, to warn others, and it had nearly destroyed him. Now they had to make the same choice: peace through ignorance or truth with responsibility. Either way, nothing would ever be the same again. Emma pulled up a final screen. It showed a star chart, the real one. Human space didn't end at their official borders. It extended far beyond, a defensive line between the Council races and the consuming darkness of the old ones. Every blank spot on their maps was actually a defense station, a battle line, or a warning zone. The choice needs to be made soon, Emma said gently. The longer you know, the harder it is to forget. Some truths change you just by existing in your mind. Jake stared at the real star chart. Humanity had taken on the burden of protecting the entire galaxy, asking nothing in return except to be left alone to do their job. They maintained a massive lie, bore the weight of terrible knowledge, and fought an unimaginable enemy, all while pretending to be just another peaceful species exploring space. The courage, or perhaps the madness of it, was staggering. And now Jake had to decide if he was brave enough to share in that burden. The crew of the Starlight Edge sat in silence for what felt like hours. The weight of the decision pressed down on them like gravity from a black hole. Jake looked at his teammates, people he'd served with, trusted with his life, and now had to make the most important choice alongside. Can we have some time to discuss this among ourselves? Sam asked Captain Wright. Of course. Wright nodded. Take as much time as you need. But remember, every hour that passes makes the memory treatment less effective. Dr. Thompson will stay nearby if you have any questions. The human officers left, giving the crew privacy. The Xenari captain stood as well. I will leave you to decide. But know this, I chose to remember, and it has changed me forever. The universe is not what I thought, but at least now I understand why the stars still shine when they should be gone. Rithka bowed with all 6 arms and left the observation room. The council crew gathered in a circle by the window, where they could see the distant stars and the hidden truth about what lay beyond. This is insane, Maya started. Everything we know about the galaxy is wrong. Everything we think we're protecting isn't what needs protecting. It's exactly what needs protecting, Sam countered. Just not from what we thought. Can we really trust this? Alex asked. How do we know they're telling the truth? Maybe this is some elaborate human trick to control us or the Council. To what end? Jake replied. Think about it, Alex. If humans wanted to control the Council, they could have done it years ago. They're more advanced than we knew. They have military technology that makes our ships look like toys. They don't need tricks. He's right, Dr. Miller said. I've been analyzing their medical data. The human advances in psychology, neurology, trauma treatment. They're decades ahead of Council medicine. This comes from experience. Real, terrible experience. Sam walked to the window. So what do we do? Forget everything and go back to our normal lives? Pretend this never happened? Can we even do that? Maya wondered. I mean mentally. Some things, once you know them. The humans say their treatment works, Alex pointed out. They've been doing this for a while. Yes, but do we have the right to forget? Jake asked. We've been entrusted with maybe the biggest secret in the galaxy. Is it fair to just wipe our minds and pretend nothing's wrong? It's not about fair, Sam sighed. It's about what's best for the galaxy. If knowing this truth will help save lives, then we should remember. If forgetting helps maintain the protective lie, then maybe that's what we should do. Dr. Miller pulled out her medical scanner. I need to check something. She ran the device over each crew member. Interesting. The stress markers are different, for each of us. Sam and Maya are handling this better than Alex and Jake. No judgment, people process existential threats differently. What are you saying? Alex asked. I'm saying that maybe we don't all have to make the same choice, Dr. Miller suggested. Some of us might be better equipped to carry this burden than others. The room fell quiet again as they considered this possibility. It made sense in a disturbing way. Not everyone could handle being a guardian of such a terrible secret. I think, Jake began, then stopped. I think I need to see more before I decide. Is that possible? As if on cue, Emma Thompson knocked on the door. May I come in? Please, Sam called. I overheard you want to see more, Emma said to Jake. That can be arranged. Would anyone else like to join? Only Sam raised his hand. Maya and Alex stayed silent, which spoke volumes about their leaning toward forgetting. Emma led Jake and Sam to a different part of the station. They passed through security checkpoints that scanned not just their bodies but also seemed to read their intentions. The further they went, the more serious everything became. Where are we going? Sam asked. To meet General Ryan Mitchell, Emma replied. He commands the Human Outer Defense Force, the man who's been protecting the galaxy for the past 50 years. They entered a command center that looked like the nerve center of a massive war effort. Holographic displays showed battle maps, defense, grids, and what looked like real-time monitoring of thousands of star systems. Humans of various ages and ethnicities worked with focused intensity. General Mitchell was an older man with steel gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He wore a uniform covered with more ribbons and medals than Jake had ever seen on. Any council military officer? Commander Morrison, Captain Rodriguez, the general greeted them. Dr. Thompson tells me you want to understand the full scope of what we do here. Yes, sir, Jake replied. Very well. Let me show you what few outside our organization ever see. The general waved his hand and a massive holographic display activated. This is Project Shield's wall, he explained. Our primary defensive network, 5,000 automated defense stations, 200 permanently crewed battle platforms, 100 mobile assault fleets, all protecting a perimeter that spans 17 sectors. The hologram showed an intricate web of defensive positions, supply lines, and patrol routes. It was a marvel of military logistics and engineering. How do you maintain all this without the council knowing? Sam wondered aloud. Carefully. The general smiled. We have trade agreements that let us move supplies through various council territories. We disguise military components as civilian equipment. We recruit quietly from planets that need work opportunities. Most importantly, we give people hope while asking nothing in return. The cost must be enormous, Jake observed. It is. Every human pays a defense tax. We've redirected our entire economy toward this effort, but it's worth it. Every day these systems hold is another day of life for trillions of beings across the galaxy. The general pulled up another display. This one showed actual battles, ships engaging geometric monstrosities in the depths of space. The fighting was fierce, with beam weapons, missiles, and tactics that seemed specifically designed to counter the old one's machine logic. We lose ships, the general admitted. We lose good people, but we're getting better at fighting them, learning their patterns, understanding their limitations. What are their limitations? Sam asked, his tactical mind engaged. They operate on pure efficiency calculations, the general explained. They avoid fights they can't win decisively. They don't understand tactics like sacrifice plays or kamikaze runs. Most importantly, they don't value individual units, which means they can't predict beings who fight with emotion, intuition, or for causes beyond mere survival. Jake looked at Sam. Their military experience told them this was real. No deception could maintain details at this level. No lie could account for the wear on these officers' faces or the practiced efficiency of this operation. Why hasn't the council military noticed all this activity? Sam inquired. A combination of things, General Mitchell replied. First, we operate under complete communication silence. No signals can leak from our operations. Second, we use transit points that the council thinks are dangerous or unprofitable. Third, and most importantly, we have helpers inside the council who ensure missions are redirected away from our most sensitive areas. Director Williams, Jake realized. Yes, but not just her. The Draknari High Command provides false sensor readings. The Vreentar have engineered our long-range communications to be invisible to other species. Even the gremlins, whom everyone thinks are just scavengers, find and secure Old One artifacts before anyone else can discover them. So many species know? Sam was shocked. Very few individuals in each species, the general clarified. Each, chosen carefully, each tested thoroughly, each carrying the burden of this knowledge. Emma pulled up a medical display. Those who choose to know go through extensive training, psychological preparation, coping strategies. We've learned how to help people process this information without breaking. Breaking like the Xenari crew did? Jake asked. Yes, they stumbled upon knowledge too quickly without preparation. That's why we have strict protocols about who learns what and when. The general changed the display to show Earth itself. My people have fought hundreds of wars throughout our history. We learned war's terrible lessons long before we reached the stars. And when we met the Old Ones, we realized all that bloody history had actually prepared us for something greater. Being the galaxy's protectors, Sam said quietly. More like the galaxy's secret guardians, the general corrected. We don't want glory or thanks. We just want to preserve what exists out there, the diversity, the life, the wonder that the council species represent. Jake thought about all the species he'd met in his career. The beautiful crystalline beings of Voronfer, the playful sky whales of Ceres, the wise tree people of Gremlock. None of them knew how close they'd come to being consumed by machines from beyond the stars. One more thing. The general pulled up a personnel file. It showed images of humans, but also Draknari, Vreentar, even a few gremlins. We accept volunteers from other species, those who choose to know and fight with us. They're rare, but they bring perspectives and skills we wouldn't have on our own. The general looked at Jake and Sam directly. The choice you're making isn't just about keeping a secret. It's about deciding if you want to join the most important fight in the galaxy's history, a fight that the galaxy will hopefully never know about. As they left the command center, Emma spoke softly. Your crews should have their decision soon, and I think watching you two react here helped them understand the magnitude of what's being asked. Back in the observation room, Alex and Maya waited anxiously. Dr. Miller had gathered medical supplies, clearly having made her own decision. Did you decide? Jake asked his remaining crew members. Alex nodded slowly. I think I should forget. I'm sorry. I know that might make me a coward. No, Sam said firmly. It makes you honest about your limits. That's wisdom, not cowardice. Maya stood straighter. I want to remember. I've spent my career protecting people. Now I know what really needs protecting. Jake felt a mix of relief and sadness. His crew was splitting. Alex would return to his old life, forever believing in a slightly smaller, safer universe. The rest of them would carry the weight of the truth. Dr. Thompson entered with several human medical technicians. Alex Chen has requested memory treatment. He'll be taken to the medical bay now. The rest of you will join our program if that's your final choice. Alex stood up, shaking slightly. Thank you for letting me go back. Please, if I ever ask questions about human space again, just remind me that some mysteries are better left alone. We will, Jake promised, gripping his friend's shoulder one last time. As Alex left with the medical team, the remaining crew members looked at each other. They had chosen knowledge over comfort, responsibility over ignorance. They were now part of humanity's secret war against the cosmic dark. The universe would never be the same for them, but then again it had never been what they thought it was in the first place. After Alex left with the medical team, the remaining crew members received their first briefing as members of the Outer Defense Force. General Mitchell personally oversaw their orientation. You'll be trained in 3 phases, he explained. First, tactical understanding of the Old Ones. Second, integration with our existing network. Third, maintaining your cover stories within the Council. Jake's first week was overwhelming. He learned that humans had documented 14 different types of Old One machines, each with its own attack patterns and weaknesses. He studied battle, footage from encounters going back 200 years. He saw brave crews sacrifice themselves to save worlds they'd never visited. Dr. Miller excelled in the medical division. The human doctors taught her new ways to treat trauma caused by exposure to the old one's technology. Their machines don't just damage bodies, one doctor explained. They attack the concept of self. They try to break down individual identity into raw data. Maya trained alongside human special forces. She quickly discovered why Earth's military tactics were so different. We fight differently, her instructor explained, because we learned to fight against ourselves before we ever met any aliens. Humans are the only species who went to space already knowing how to kill efficiently. The hardest part was watching Alex integrate back into normal life. The memory treatment worked perfectly. Jake saw him in the station cafeteria one day chatting happily with other navigators about upcoming exploration missions. Alex's eyes passed over Jake without recognition of their shared experience. It was like Jake had become an invisible part of his life. That's the price of this knowledge, Sam told him one night. We lose parts of ourselves to gain understanding of the larger picture. 3 months after their choice, the crew received their first field assignment. The Draknari High Command had detected unusual Old One activity near their border with human space. A probe had somehow slipped through the defense grid. This happens sometimes, General Mitchell briefed them. The Old Ones test for weaknesses constantly. Your job is to intercept that probe without revealing our presence to any council ships that might be nearby. The Starlight Edge was retrofitted with disguised human technology. From outside, it looked exactly the same. Inside, however, new weapons and shields were barely visible beneath false panels. Remember your cover, Emma reminded them. You're conducting a standard border patrol. If you encounter any council vessels, act normally. Complain about the paperwork. Grumble about the endless monotony of patrol duty. They set out toward the coordinates the Draknari had provided. The vastness of space had always felt bigger to Jake now, knowing what waited beyond the stars. Every system they passed was one that the Old Ones would hunt if they broke through Earth's defenses. 2 days into their patrol, sensors detected the Old One probe. It was smaller than the massive military vessels Jake had seen in the command center, but no less terrifying. A geometric shape that defied easy description, it moved through space with impossible fluidity. Engaging stealth mode, Maya reported. The ship powered down non-essential systems, becoming almost invisible against the cosmic background. The probe doesn't know we're here, Sam observed. It's scanning methodically, looking for resources to report back. We need to destroy it before it can send data, Dr. Miller said, checking the new weapons console she'd been training on. If it learns about council species this far into the galaxy. They stalked the probe for hours, waiting for the perfect moment. Jake monitored long-range sensors while Maya ran continuous security checks. They couldn't risk any other ship stumbling upon this encounter. When they finally positioned themselves for the attack, Jake realized this was his first time seeing the Old One's technology up close. The probe scanned efficiency patterns that would be beautiful if they weren't so deadly. It probed asteroid belts, analyzed solar radiation, calculated resource values with cold precision. Fire, Sam ordered. The modified weapons array struck with carefully calculated force. The probe didn't explode dramatically like in movies. Instead, it simply stopped existing. Its matter scattered at a quantum level to prevent any data recovery. Confirm destruction, Sam commanded. Confirmed, Maya reported. No signals detected. No remaining structures. They sat in silence for a moment, realizing they'd just participated in humanity's secret war. The journey back to the station was quiet. Unlike typical military operations Jake had trained for in the Council, there would be no medals, no official recognition. Their action today would never be recorded in any history book. Back at base, General Mitchell congratulated them personally. Your first intercept was clean. No witnesses, no evidence left behind. This is how we protect the galaxy, one secret victory at a time. 6 months passed. The crew of the Starlight Edge adjusted to their double lives. They maintained their council positions while secretly helping coordinate Earth's defense network. Jake processed navigation data, that helped map safe routes through human space for Council ships, always careful to direct them away from sensitive military areas. Dr. Miller established connections in the Council's medical research community, subtly introducing Earth-developed treatments for psychological trauma. Many Council doctors didn't know they were using techniques developed to help soldiers recover from encountering the old ones. Maya worked with human intelligence forces to identify potential Council allies. They were looking for individuals who showed the psychological stability and moral framework to handle the truth about the galaxy's defenders. The most surprising change came from Sam. The veteran captain found new purpose in his work. "I always thought I was protecting my crew," he told Jake one evening. "Now I realize we've been protecting everyone. My whole career has led to this." But not all changes were positive. They began to see the universe differently. Every Council celebration felt like a party on the edge of an abyss. Every exploration mission was a reminder of how naive their species remained. Every space battle between Council members seemed pointless, compared to the real war happening in the shadows. 1 year after their choice, Director Lisa Williams called Jake to her office. She looked older, more tired than before. "You understand now why I tried to discourage your questions," she said. "This knowledge is a burden." "It is," Jake agreed. "But it's also a privilege. We're making a difference." "That's exactly why we chose this path." Williams nodded. "Every Council member I've brought into this secret has felt the same mix of weight and purpose. We carry this burden so others don't have to." She handed him a data pad. "A new assignment. There's been unusual activity in unexplored space. We think the old ones are searching for something specific, something that has them worried." "What could worry machines like that?" Jake wondered. "That's what concerns us," Williams replied. "If the old ones are afraid of something, then maybe it's something that could help us." Jake left her office with a new mission and a new question. After a year of fighting this secret war, he'd learned that the universe held even deeper mysteries. What could frighten beings who converted entire civilizations into raw data? The answer might change everything they thought they knew about the old ones, and perhaps it could change the balance in the war itself. As he prepared his crew for this new mission, Jake reflected on how his life had transformed. A year ago, he was a navigator concerned about blank spots on star charts. Now he was a soldier in a cosmic war, protecting the innocence of species who would never know how close they came to extinction. The galactic maps still ended at human space. Council navigators still wondered about those blank areas. New officers would discover the anomalies and ask questions just as Jake once had. Some would forget their curiosity. Others would choose to remember and join this secret brotherhood. And in the darkness beyond the mapped stars, human ships continued their endless vigil. Silent guardians watching over a galaxy that slept peacefully, never knowing that monsters were real and that humanity had chosen to stand against them. The war wasn't over. Perhaps it would never be over. But for now, the lights of civilization continued to shine in the cosmic dark, protected by a species that had transformed its capacity for violence into the ultimate act of compassion, becoming the galaxy's secret shield against the consuming darkness. Jake looked at the modified star charts on his station. Beyond the blank spaces were not mysteries but battles. Not the unknown but the known threat. Not the edge of civilization, but its last line of defense. And tomorrow, he and his crew would return to that line, fighting so that others never had to know what they were fighting against. The greatest heroes they had learned were those whose deeds went unrecorded. And the greatest victory was a war that nobody knew was being fought.